now. Washington Mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
And AM 630.
WMAL.
It is 8:07 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. It is Brian Wilson, and today, as you know, my good friend and my broadcasting partner, Brian Neiman, is off on paternity leave, and we got news last night at 11:47. Charles Gray Neiman was welcomed to this world, 7 pounds, 4 ounces, 19 and a half inches long, mother and child doing well. Neiman, a complete basket case this morning. The middle name Gray, at best I can determine, it's just my speculation, I don't really know. Apparently it has something to do with that book, 50 Shades of Gray.
That's got to be it.
Which probably had something to do with the conception of said child, but I don't know, it's just a theory. I'll have to ask him when he comes back. But congratulations to the Neiman family. Joining us on the line now, by the way, Chris Moody is in today for Mr. Neiman. Chris is with Yahoo News, been out on the campaign trail. A lot of people follow him on Twitter. I'd recommend you do that. Jake Tapper follows you on Twitter, and he's on the line right now. Senior correspondent, White House correspondent for ABC News. How are you, Jake?
I'm well. I'm wondering if Moody had anything to do with the early delivery of the child so that he could get on air today.
Yeah, you know,
I wouldn't put it past him.
People clamor to be a guest host on this show. There's no doubt about that.
No comment, Jake. No comment on that.
Process. I'm not sure how it works exactly. But.
Okay, Jake, let's talk about yesterday. I mean, there's so much focus on what's going on in the Middle East right now, and the president does an interview, and he's asked this question about whether or not Egypt is an ally, and he basically said they're not an ally, but they're not our enemy. Mm-hmm. And then later it seems that the State Department and others spent a lot of time trying to clean that up. Give me the TikTok on it, and is it an important deal? Well,
it is important because there's this larger question about what is the role of the U.S. in the Middle East and North Africa post-Arab Spring, or midst-Arab Spring, I guess. We don't really know if the Arab Spring is over. Egypt has been a stalwart ally of the United States for decades under the former dictator, Hosni Mubarak, and it's by definition a major non-NATO ally according to legislation passed by Congress. I suspect that, or I don't suspect, the White House argument is this is a term of art, and the president was sending a message to President Morsi that they had not proven themselves, this new government run by, among others, members of the Muslim Brotherhood, that they had not proven themselves. And up until that point, Morsi had not even condemned the attacks on the U.S. Embassy, although he subsequently did at a press conference in Europe. So the White House argument is this was a push, a signal from the United States to Egypt that they needed to do more to reaffirm the alliance. But obviously it is at odds with official U.S. policy.
And so there was a lot of cleanup that took place, and then somebody at the State Department said, well, you know, ally is a term of art. And that was almost worse than the original gaffe in many ways, don't you think?
Well, it's not for me to judge. It's certainly, what they said was certainly not a reflection of official U.S. policy, and it could have ramifications later on when Congress, whether or not Congress decides to withhold money from Egypt. They could say, well, the president says they're not even an ally, so why would we send them, another $1 billion? There could be consequences to it beyond just sending a signal to President Morsi, if indeed that's what President Obama was trying to do.
Now, Jake, we've got unconfirmed reports from news agencies around the world, a lot of rumors flying around here, and there's one that said that there was possibly information that U.S. officials knew about possible attacks in Libya, but failed to act. Concerning Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, how do you think this event is going to have an impact on her tenure and her legacy as Secretary of State?
Well, obviously, you get credit and blame for everything that happens under your watch, whether you're president or secretary of state, and this was a sad moment. I've seen that report. It's in a British newspaper, and it's unsourced. Mm-hmm. I've asked about it. The administration says it's not true. There's also been the spokesperson for the Director of National Intelligence said that there was no actionable intelligence. I'm wondering if there's some parsing going on, the difference between intelligence and actionable.
Can I stop you there? Because that's important. When you hear it qualified like that, it does sort of set off your spidey reporter senses, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I've heard it not qualified. I've heard it said there was no intelligence, and I've also seen the statement from the Director of National Intelligence spokesperson saying no actionable intelligence. And we'll be talking to Jay Carney today at the briefing, and I'm assuming that he'll come ready to give us to be candid and tell us what the U.S. knew and when they knew it. Obviously, pre 9/11, there's a lot of intelligence that comes in about possible protests and possible attacks on different posts, for military and diplomatic of the U.S. and their allies. I hope to find out more. Obviously, if there's a terrorist attack and we knew about it, that's something that ahead of time that would be strong. But I haven't seen any evidence to that beyond some unsourced quotes in a British newspaper, and that's, at least for me, not enough right now.
Now, Jake, in your reporting, what are you finding is the possible cause of all these attacks? I mean, at first we thought it was this video on YouTube or possibly anger over drone attacks. But are you getting any reporting from inside sources about why this is going on at this time?
Well, I mean, first of all, one of the things that folks, I'm sure, understand is that there's often, when you have an unruly crowd attacking a diplomatic post, there might be more than one reason behind it. I mean, there might be people who are inflamed because of some video. There might be hooligans. There might be criminals. There might be people who are poor and just dissatisfied with their lot and get swept up in it. There might be terrorists plotting. There might be other forces plotting. And so far, initially, the blame was put on this film. I think it's fair to say that more information has come out indicating that's, you can't blame just, obviously, first of all, the blame goes to the people demonstrating and being violent, not a movie that might motivate them. But beyond that, I think it's fair to say that there seem to be a lot of different possible motivations, and these attacks are, separated by hundreds of miles and not necessarily directly connected. There is, they are looking into the fact that in Benghazi that this was a group that was, motivated by something other than the movie, that this was a plot to attack that diplomatic post. As of now, I haven't seen any conclusive determination as to what the reason was behind any of the attacks. And again, it might be a lot of reasons.
But when you get the TikTok on what we knew about this from senior administration officials, it does seem like this was sort of like a long-running gun battle. I mean, the sense you get from listening to them describe it was it started with small arms fire. There were RPGs. It went for hours. It took a whole militia of Libyan forces to come in to regain control of the situation, which doesn't sound like a protest.
No, certainly not in Benghazi. I mean, certainly not in Benghazi. It sounds very much like they were, that the attackers were well armed, that the attack was well coordinated, that this was not just some dissatisfied youth blowing off steam, that this was this was planned ahead of time. Right. Absolutely.
Well, Jake Tapper, senior White House correspondent for ABC News, you're hosting this weekend. What do you have on tap?
Well, we're still working on our headliners, obviously, with everything so fluid. We're trying to get somebody, a top representative from the U.S. government, to answer some of these questions, and we'll see who the White House gives us. On our roundtable, we have a great group to talk about this. We have George Will and Liz Cheney, General Wesley Clark, Gwen Ifill, and, of course, ABC's own Martha Raddatz, and we'll be talking about it all, from the international aspect to the politics of it all.
All right, Jake, thank you so much for joining us here. We always appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, and mazel tov to Brian.
Okay.